Hello, my friends. I have been awake for the last 72 hours. It's all so I could get into the head of night owls. You know, those types of people who are awake all night and then sleep during the day. Of course, somehow I forgot about the sleeping during the day part, but what are you going to do? People ask me, hey man, why don't you just go to sleep? And I say no. I'm here to give my viewers the best possible experience for their money. Granted, they don't pay to watch this show, but what are you gonna do? Oh, another thing people want to know is how I'm able to stay awake for 3 days straight. Well, obviously, the crack helps. Enjoy the show. Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek. Well, we've come to the end of our look at the first issues of the various Before Watchmen miniseries. I'll probably check back in with a review of the complete Dr. Manhattan series at some point, but until then, let's take a look at everyone's favorite raptor-based superhero and Before Watchmen, Night Owl #1. The book opens with a young Daniel Dryberg having dinner with his parents. As his banker father complains about the state of America, Daniel absent-mindedly comments about how someday they'll have miniature telephones that can deliver stock market reports. Why, in my day, we had all sorts of hopes and dreams for the future. We were going to have flying cars, domed cities on the moon, talking dolphins. Instead, all we've got are these lousy personal computers that fit in the palm of our hand. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some hardcore pornography to watch. Oh. Eventually he heads up to his room, which is packed with Night Owl memorabilia. We then cut to Hollis Mason, the original Night Owl, breaking up a stolen car theft ring. As he's applauded, young Daniel slips a listening device into the Owlmobile? He recognizes the sounds as belonging to a certain area of town. Breaking into an abandoned warehouse, Daniel finds Night Owl's base of operations. Trying on the hero's cowl, he types out an address for Hollis to find. They meet in the park, and Daniel offers to aid Hollis with keeping him from being found out so easily again. He wants to become Night Owl's sidekick. Hollis says he'll think about it, but warns Daniel against such rash action in the future. The gun he had hidden means things could have gone very badly for Daniel. Coming home, he finds his father beating his mother before he's ordered upstairs. He finds his entire collection destroyed. Beating your mother versus destroying your collection of comic books and toys. Which is the greater evil? No, I'm just kidding. Obviously the beating is more evil. Well, no, the beating is more evil. As he sits over the ember of his once proud fandom, his mother comes out to sit with him. She casually mentions that his father has had a heart attack, and at some point they should probably call a doctor. At his father's funeral, Daniel's mother spits in his father's face before Hollis agrees to start training him. Hollis trains him to fight. Daniel designs an owl airship, and they go out patrolling where Daniel learns to spot signs of crime. Later, while having lunch, Daniel hears a report announcing that the Night Owl has just retired. He rushes back to Hollis and is furious his mentor didn't confide in him that he was going to hang up the cowl. Hollis admits he no longer feels the same passion he did for crime fighting, and now that Daniel is here, he has someone to take over the Night Owl name. Hollis alludes to some terrible truths he's learned about himself before changing topics and doing his best to inspire Daniel to take over. Daniel asks when Hollis thinks he'll be ready, and he guesses in 2 to 3 years. We then jump ahead a few years to see a riot. It's broken up by strobe beams from the sky, and aboard the Archimedes, Night Owl 2 makes his debut. He jumps down attacking the thieves before activating cloud cover from his ship. Turning things over to the cops, he re-enters his ship to find someone already there. Sorry. I know it's a print comic and all with no sound effects, but it still just freaked me out to see him sitting there like that. Rorschach points out the rookie has everything but a partner. The two begin teaming up to fight crime and save lives. Cut to 1966, and we see the duo arrive at the first meeting for the Crime Busters. They stop to meet the second Silk Spectre, Laurie, and Daniel has his breath taken away by the young beauty. Inside, Captain Metropolis wants to randomly pair off superheroes so they can learn to work together. He first draws the name of Dr. Manhattan, but his second draw of Rorschach changes before his eyes to the Silk Spectre. So Mr. I know everything and live in every second of my life concurrently still has to resort to cock blocking? Not cool, Mr. Blue. Not cool. Night Owl is very aware of the chemistry between Dr. Manhattan and Laurie, so much so that after the first meeting of the Crime Busters collapses due to the comedian's insensitivity, he's still fuming at Rorschach. He felt sure that she was supposed to have been paired with him, like it was destiny. Rorschach warns him that women can be trouble before the duo go off to get a late lunch. So that's the first issue of Night Owl. I have to admit it was not what I was expecting. It's a much darker toned book than I anticipated. Why? Well, that goes back to the origins of the original Watchmen miniseries. Let's take a closer look at this first issue. As I'm sure most die-hard comic book fans know, the original intent of Watchmen was to star DC's recently acquired Charlton Heroes. However, the editors were concerned the Watchmen would then render the heroes unusable for future comics. Still, the original case was to use the Question in the place of Rorschach, Captain Atom in the place of Dr. Manhattan, and in Night Owl's case he replaced the Blue Beetle. So I guess I've always concluded that the Night Owl was just another version of the Blue Beetle, and the version I'm most familiar with was the happy-go-lucky Ted Kord of Justice League International. An unfair comparison perhaps, but it does explain why I wasn't quite prepared for the dark tone of this book. If anything, it's very similar to Rorschach's origin. We take a boy, abuse the hell out of him, but whereas Rorschach goes insane and becomes a vigilante, Daniel channels his anger into superheroing. Still, in the original Watchmen, the retired Daniel comes off as a bit of an ineffective milquetoast. It's hard to see him with the dark origins and the intensity that he brings to crime fighting. However, the cleverness the character always had is well represented in the story. Where this book suffers is like many of the other before Watchmen titles, in that it's rushing the story. It takes all of 15 pages to become the superhero we first meet in the original series. Rorschach just shows up and offers to be his partner in one page. This was my biggest issue with J. Michael Straczynski's script. Rorschach, a renounced sociopath seeking out a partner and becoming friends with him? It would have made more sense if they'd been on a case, but here Rorschach seeks him out. I've never felt that Rorschach had regular emotions. The idea that he was lonely or wanted a friend always just seemed alien to the character. Still, JMS does some things I like, such as showing Daniel's initial attraction to Laurie and hinting at some secret causing Hollis to retire. Whether we ever get payoff for that secret and whether or not it comes in this book or Minutemen, we'll have to wait and see. Art-wise, Andy Kubert was clearly channeling his father Joe's style for this book. The art feels very similar to Joe's recent Sergeant Rock story for Wednesday Comics, and captures a grittiness that feels reminiscent of the original Watchmen. I'd have to say of all the books I've read, this art feels the most authentic to the source material. So the origin does feel a bit rushed. It takes up 15 pages when I felt it should have been given the whole issue. That and Rorschach's motivations never feel quite right to me. Still, unlike some of the other before Watchmen books, even if it's rushed, it doesn't skip over anything. We do get a complete origin for Night Owl. That and superior art create an engrossing, if not totally competent read. I give Before Watchmen, Night Owl #1, 3 out of 5 stars. That's it for now, my friends. Until next time, I'm the Last Angry Geek, and this is Comic Book Issues.